In an unprecedented showdown that has left the political landscape in turmoil, Senators Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders have locked horns in a fiery confrontation over the contentious issue of Ukraine funding. This explosive clash, which has sent shockwaves through the corridors of power, is not just a simple disagreement. It is a battle of epic proportions that threatens to unravel the very fabric of political decorum. The Senate floor became a battleground as Graham, with his characteristic fervor, accused Sanders of undermining national security by opposing increased military aid to Ukraine. Sanders, never one to back down, fired back with equal intensity, condemning Graham's stance as reckless and warmongering. The tension was palpable, the stakes monumental, as these two political titans clashed in a spectacle that was as riveting as it was alarming. This confrontation is not just a political skirmish. It is a reflection of the deep-seated divisions that plague the nation's leadership. The debate over Ukraine funding has become a lightning rod for broader ideological battles, with Graham and Sanders embodying the polar extremes of the political spectrum. Their clash is a microcosm of the larger struggle for the soul of American foreign policy, a struggle that has now erupted into full view. As the dust settles from this explosive encounter, the ramifications are being felt far beyond the Senate chamber. Allies and adversaries alike are watching with bated breath, as the fallout from this confrontation threatens to ignite a global crisis. The world is now on edge, as the implications of this debate reverberate across international borders. In the wake of this dramatic showdown, questions abound. What are the true motives behind Graham and Sanders' positions? Are there hidden agendas at play, hidden from the public eye? As the nation grapples with these questions, the urgency of the situation cannot be overstated. This is not just a political spectacle. It is a call to action, a demand for accountability from those who wield power. The explosive confrontation between Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders is more than just a headline. It is a pivotal moment in the ongoing saga of American politics. As the nation holds its breath, the world watches in anticipation, waiting to see how this dramatic chapter will unfold, and an unexpected turn of events. The United States Senate became the epicenter of an unprecedented political storm. Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders, two titans of American politics, faced each other in a verbal duel that left everyone speechless. The tension was palpable, and the hot topic, funding for Ukraine. What began as a debate over foreign policy quickly escalated into a fierce exchange, filled with accusations and shocking revelations. Behind the closed doors of the Capitol, a plot was brewing that few could have imagined. The cameras did not capture everything, but rumors began to circulate. Graham and Sanders were said to have had private conversations that, if revealed, could change the course of international politics. What dark secrets were hidden behind their words? What clandestine agreements had been forged in the shadows of the corridors of power? The intensity of the confrontation left no one indifferent. Stunned onlookers wondered what else could come to light. Leaks began to emerge, and with them, a grim picture of betrayals and hidden agendas. The nation was in suspense, and the world watched in amazement. What more would be discovered about this explosive exchange? The truth, like a volcano about to erupt, threatened to sweep away everything in its path. The pressure was mounting, and the consequences of this titanic clash were felt in every corner of the country. People were demanding answers, and world leaders could not look away from the political drama unfolding before their eyes. History was being written in real time, and the outcome promised to be as shocking as the beginning. Could Graham and Sanders survive the storm they themselves had unleashed? The nation waited expectantly for the next chapter in this monumental saga. In an unprecedented twist of political drama, the Senate floor became the battleground for an explosive confrontation between Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders. The air was thick with tension as these two political titans clashed over the contentious issue of Ukraine funding. The stakes were high, and the nation watched with bated breath as accusations flew and tempers flared. This was not just a debate, it was a spectacle of epic proportions that left the public reeling. But what the public didn't see was the shocking betrayal lurking beneath the surface. Behind the fiery rhetoric and impassioned speeches, a hidden agenda was at play, one that Graham and Sanders desperately tried to conceal. As the dust settled, whispers of deceit and manipulation began to emerge, hinting at a sinister plot that threatened to unravel the very fabric of trust in the political system. Sources close to the matter revealed that both senators had ulterior motives, driven by personal ambitions and external pressures. The public was left in disbelief as the truth slowly came to light, exposing a web of intrigue and backdoor dealings that neither Graham nor Sanders wanted to be made public. This was not just a political disagreement, it was a calculated move to sway public opinion and further their own agendas. As the nation grappled with the implications of this betrayal, Questions arose about the integrity of those in power. How could two of the most prominent figures in American politics engage in such deceitful tactics? The revelation sent shockwaves through the political landscape, leaving citizens outraged and demanding accountability. The fallout from this scandal was immediate and far-reaching. Trust in the political system was eroded, and the public's faith in their leaders was shaken to its core. As more details emerged, the pressure mounted on Graham and Sanders to come clean and face the consequences of their actions. The nation was at a crossroads, and the world watched in anticipation as the drama continued to unfold. In the wake of this explosive revelation, the call for transparency and honesty in politics grew louder. The public demanded answers, and the pressure on Graham and Sanders intensified. Would they be held accountable for their actions, or would they manage to escape unscathed? The nation held its breath, waiting for the final verdict in this scandalous saga that had captivated the world, and an unexpected twist that has left the nation speechless. Leaked documents have brought to light the dark truth about Ukraine's financing, a revelation that promises to shake the foundations of political power in Washington. At the center of this storm are Senators Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders, whose heated discussions have been just the tip of the iceberg of a scandal of epic proportions. These documents, which have emerged from the shadows as a wake-up call, expose a web of hidden interests and political maneuvers that have kept the public in the dark. The funding for Ukraine, presented as an act of international support, hides behind it a power game involving actors operating from the shadows, manipulating the fate of entire nations. The leak reveals that what has been sold as selfless help is, in reality, a chessboard where the pieces move according to personal interests and hidden agendas. Graham and Sanders, in their public confrontation, have been accused of being pawns in a much larger game, where the true intentions have been carefully veiled to protect the real puppet masters. The magnitude of this revelation has left citizens in a state of disbelief and fury, demanding answers and transparency from those who have sworn to serve the public interest. The pressure on Graham and Sanders is mounting, as the clamor for truth resonates in every corner of the country. What else is hiding behind these smokescreens? Who are the real beneficiaries of this funding? The nation demands to know, and will not rest until the truth is revealed. This scandal, which threatens to destabilize not only domestic politics but also international relations, has put world leaders on alert. The international community watches in awe and concern as the drama unfolds on the global stage. The question on everyone's mind is, how will this tangle of deceit and betrayal be resolved? The answer, still uncertain, could change the course of history. Tension in the United States Senate reached boiling point when Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders engaged in an explosive confrontation that left everyone speechless. At the center of the storm was the controversial issue of funding to Ukraine, an issue that has divided not only politicians, but the entire nation. The intensity of the debate was such that the walls of the Senate seemed to shake under the ferocity of the accusations and the shouts that echoed through the room. What began as a discussion about foreign policy quickly turned into a spectacle of personal recriminations and accusations of betrayal. Graham, with his incendiary rhetoric, accused Sanders of endangering national security by opposing military funding. Sanders, for his part, was not far behind and lashed out at Graham, accusing him of being a puppet of dark interests seeking to perpetuate the conflict at any cost. News of this confrontation quickly spread across borders, sparking a wave of international outrage. Leaders around the world expressed concern about the lack of unity in the U.S. government, fearing that this division could have global repercussions. The international community watched in amazement as two of the Senate's most prominent figures faced off in a battle that seemed to have no end. The impact of this debate was not limited to the political sphere. On the streets, citizens were divided, with demonstrations for and against each of the senators. Polarization reached alarming levels, and the clamor for a solution grew ever louder. The pressure on Graham and Sanders was mounting, and both found themselves in the eye of the storm, facing unprecedented public scrutiny. Meanwhile, the media did not miss the opportunity to amplify the scandal. Every word, every gesture, every glance between Graham and Sanders was analyzed and discussed ad nauseum. The media coverage was so intense that the confrontation became the most talked about topic of the year, eclipsing other issues of national and international importance. In the midst of this chaos, the question on everyone's mind was, how would this crisis be resolved? The pressure on both senators was immense, and the future of American foreign policy hung in the balance. The nation, and the entire world, awaited with bated breath the outcome of this confrontation that had shaken the foundations of political power in the United States. In an unexpected and explosive turn, Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders have found themselves embroiled in an unprecedented confrontation that has shaken the foundations of the United States Senate. The dispute, centered on the financing of Ukraine, has unleashed a political storm that threatens to spill over national borders. But what has really left everyone speechless are the outrageous tactics that both senators have used to manipulate public opinion. In a desperate attempt to win support, Graham and Sanders have resorted to strategies that defy any notion of political ethics. Leaked documents have revealed that both have been involved in a carefully orchestrated disinformation campaign designed to sow chaos and confusion among citizens. With incendiary speeches and calculated statements, they have played on the emotions of the public, exploiting fears and prejudices to advance their personal agendas. The scale of this manipulation is staggering. Graham, known for his belligerent rhetoric, has used his influence to paint an apocalyptic picture of the situation in Ukraine, while Sanders, with his populist approach, has appealed to the masses with promises of justice and fairness that critics say are little more than smoke and mirrors. Both have used the media as pawns in their power game, leaking selective and distorted information to tip the scales in their favor. The impact of these tactics has been devastating. Public opinion is divided, with citizens feeling betrayed and manipulated by those they trusted to lead with integrity. Trust in the political system has been severely eroded, and outrage is growing as more details come to light. The question on everyone's mind is, how far are Graham and Sanders willing to go to maintain their control over the narrative? Amidst this maelstrom, the pressure on both senators is mounting. Voices demanding accountability and transparency are growing louder, and the clamor for a thorough investigation is echoing through the halls of power. The nation is watching intently, hoping that justice will be served and that those responsible for this blatant manipulation will face the consequences of their actions. History is still being written, and the outcome promises to be as shocking as the scandal itself. In an unexpected turn of events, the showdown between Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders has laid bare a web of intrigue and manipulation that few could have imagined. As the world watches in amazement, the question that resonates from every corner is, who are the real puppeteers behind this political spectacle? On a stage where appearances can be deceiving, visible figures are revealed to be nothing more than pawns in a much larger, darker game. The shadows moving behind the scenes have woven a complex web of hidden interests, where powerful lobby groups and international entities seem to play a crucial role. These actors, invisible to the public eye, have been moving the pieces on the board, orchestrating each move of Graham and Sanders with chilling precision. The financing of Ukraine, far from being a simple budget debate, has become the battlefield of a silent war for geopolitical control. Leaked documents suggest that both senators may be being manipulated by outside forces seeking to destabilize not only domestic U.S. politics, but also the global balance. Connections to multinational corporations and foreign governments have come to light, revealing a web of interests that defies conventional understandings of politics. The question on everyone's mind is, to what extent are Graham and Sanders aware that they are puppets in this game? The revelations of these puppet masters have generated a wave of indignation and distrust among citizens, who are demanding clear and conclusive answers. The pressure on the senators is increasing, while the public is clamoring for transparency and responsibility. In this climate of tension, the future of American politics hangs in the balance, and the outcome of this story promises to be as explosive as its beginning. The nation watches this political drama unfold with bated breath, aware that the decisions made in the coming days could have historic repercussions. The truth, however painful, has begun to emerge, and with it, the hope for justice in a system that seems to have lost its way. The nation is on the brink of the abyss. The explosive confrontation between Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders has unleashed an unprecedented political storm, shaking the foundations of the United States Senate. In an exchange that has left everyone speechless, these two political titans engaged in a fierce verbal battle over the financing of Ukraine, an issue that has polarized public opinion and put the stability of the country in jeopardy. The impact of this standoff has not been limited to the walls of the Senate. The entire nation is divided, with citizens taking sides and demanding answers. The tension is palpable in every corner of the country, as social media alights with heated debates and conspiracy theories. People are furious, and rightly so. How could two such prominent figures have allowed their personal differences to become a public spectacle that threatens to tear at the very fabric of society? The consequences of this titanic clash are already being felt at every level. Families, friends, and entire communities are at odds, caught in a whirlwind of accusations and mistrust. Political polarization has reached a critical point, and the country is at a dangerous crossroads. Can the nation overcome this crisis, or are we witnessing the beginning of an irreparable fracture? Meanwhile, The media has wasted no time in capitalizing on the drama, fueling the fire with sensational headlines and incendiary analysis. Every new development is dissected and debated ad nauseum, leaving the public in a state of constant agitation. The pressure on Graham and Sanders is immense, with the public demanding immediate action to repair the damage done. The question on everyone's mind is, what's next? How will this conflict that has captured the attention of the entire world be resolved? The answer remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. The impact of this standoff will be felt for a long time, and the road to reconciliation will be long and arduous. The nation waits anxiously, as the fate of its future hangs in the balance. The world watches in horror as unprecedented drama unfolds in the U.S. Senate. The explosive confrontation between Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders has captured global attention, leaving international leaders agape at the scale of the scandal. In an unexpected twist, the dispute over Ukraine funding has transcended borders, becoming a spectacle that no one can ignore. From European capitals to the remotest corners of Asia, world leaders are expressing their dismay and concern. The intensity of the confrontation has shaken the foundations of international diplomacy, generating a climate of uncertainty and mistrust. Alliances are faltering, and the repercussions of this titanic clash threaten to destabilize the global order. In an increasingly interconnected world, Graham and Sanders' actions resonate far beyond American borders. Leaders of major world powers are forced to re-evaluate their strategies and alliances, while trying to understand the implications of this internal conflict on American foreign policy. The tension is palpable, and the fear of international escalation is real. The international community is demanding answers and clarity. The lack of consensus in the U.S. Senate on such a critical issue as funding for Ukraine has left many leaders in an uncomfortable position, forcing them to make difficult decisions in an already volatile environment. The pressure is mounting, and the world is anxiously awaiting the outcome of this political saga that has captured everyone's attention. Amidst this chaos, the question echoing through the halls of power is clear. How will this standoff affect international relations and the global balance of power? The answer remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. The world is watching, and Graham and Sanders' actions will have consequences that will be felt in every corner of the globe. Tension in the U.S. Senate reached a boiling point when Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders engaged in an explosive showdown that left everyone speechless. The dispute over Ukraine funding turned into a spectacle of epic proportions, capturing the attention of the nation and the entire world. In an unexpected twist, what began as a political debate morphed into a scandal that no one could ignore. Behind closed doors, sinister secrets were revealed that revealed the true nature of the heated argument between Graham and Sanders. Leaked documents brought to light a hidden agenda that both senators desperately tried to keep out of the public eye. The revelation of these dark tactics left everyone speechless, generating a wave of international outrage. The impact of this confrontation was not limited to American borders. The international community watched in horror as the argument between Graham and Sanders triggered a global crisis. Leaders around the world expressed concern about the implications of this conflict, while public opinion became increasingly divided. The manipulation of public opinion by both senators was outrageous. They used despicable tactics to influence citizens' perceptions, exposing who was really pulling the strings behind this controversial confrontation. The nation began to tear itself apart, with citizens demanding answers and accountability. The media frenzy that followed this clash was unstoppable. Graham and Sanders became the center of attention, starring in the most talked-about scandal of the year. The media did not stop covering every detail, fueling public outrage and astonishment. The fallout from this incendiary exchange soon played out in U.S. foreign policy. International relations suffered, and pressure on the government mounted as citizens demanded accountability. Anger and discontent were felt in every corner of the country as the nation anxiously awaited the final verdict. Will Graham and Sanders face the consequences of their explosive confrontation, or will they escape unscathed? The entire nation held its breath, waiting for justice to be served amid this unprecedented scandal. The U.S. Senate became a battlefield as Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders engaged in an explosive confrontation that left everyone speechless. The dispute, centered on funding for Ukraine, not only shook the foundations of Congress but also unleashed a political firestorm of epic proportions. In an exchange of words that seemed more like a war than a debate, both senators hurled incendiary accusations at each other, revealing a deep rift in American foreign policy. As the Senate doors closed, the darkest secrets of this confrontation came to light. Leaked documents began to circulate, exposing a hidden agenda that Graham and Sanders desperately tried to keep in the shadows. Betrayal and deceit became the theme of the day, leaving the public stunned and demanding answers. The international community was quick to react. Leaders around the world watched in horror as the debate turned into a global crisis. The outrageous tactics employed by both senators to manipulate public opinion were exposed, revealing a power play that few could have anticipated. The impact of this confrontation was not limited to America's borders. The country's foreign policy suffered a devastating blow, with consequences that still reverberate in the halls of power. The nation, divided and in shock, now faces a disturbing reality. The decisions made in that heated exchange could change the course of history. As the dust settles, the American people are rising up in anger, demanding accountability and transparency. The pressure on Graham and Sanders is mounting, and the question on everyone's mind is clear. Will they face the consequences of their explosive confrontation, or will they get away with it? The nation, with bated breath, awaits the final verdict. Public outrage has reached a boiling point. In an unexpected turn, citizens across the country have raised their voices, demanding accountability and transparency from Senators Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders. The collective anger is no wonder. After the explosive confrontation in the Senate over funding for Ukraine, the population feels betrayed and manipulated. People are tired of the political games and backroom maneuvers that seem to define the actions of their representatives. The streets are filled with protesters calling for justice, while social media is ablaze with outraged comments. The pressure on Graham and Sanders is palpable, and the demand for accountability cannot be ignored. Citizens are demanding clear answers and concrete actions, not more empty speeches and broken promises. Trust in the political system is at stake, and the popular outcry is a reminder that power lies with the people. In this climate of tension, political analysts warn that failure to respond adequately could have devastating consequences for the country's political stability. People are fed up with being treated as pawns in a power game, and their message is clear. They will not stop until justice is done. The pressure is on Graham and Sanders, and the clock is ticking. Will they respond to the demands of the people or continue to shirk responsibility? The nation is watching, and the outcome of this saga could change the course of American politics forever. The explosive confrontation between Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders has unleashed an unprecedented political firestorm in the U.S. Senate. In an exchange that left everyone speechless, both senators hurled incendiary accusations at each other over funding for Ukraine, revealing a conflict that threatens to shake the foundations of American foreign policy. The tension was palpable, and the public could not look away from this spectacle of epic proportions. Behind closed doors, an even darker drama was brewing. Leaked documents have exposed sinister secrets that Graham and Sanders tried at all costs to hide. Betrayal and deceit are intertwined in a plot that has left the nation in shock. What hidden agenda lies behind their words? The truth, now exposed, is more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. International outrage was swift. Leaders around the world watch in horror as this heated debate has triggered a global crisis. The outrageous tactics used by both senators to manipulate public opinion have been unmasked, revealing a power game that few would dare to challenge. Who are the real puppet masters behind this controversial showdown? As the dust begins to settle, the devastating consequences of this explosive exchange are becoming clear. The nation is divided, and U.S. foreign policy hangs in the balance. Public anger is palpable, and citizens are demanding accountability and transparency from their leaders. The pressure is mounting, and the question on everyone's mind is, will Graham and Sanders face the consequences of their confrontation, or will they escape this political storm unscathed? The final verdict is upon us, and the nation holds its breath. History is unfolding before our eyes, and the ending promises to be as shocking as the beginning. The truth has been revealed, and the world is watching intently, waiting to see if justice will prevail in this tumultuous chapter in American politics.